G'day viewers, we've ended another week, which means it kind of sort of is time for Totally Fucked Up Friday, but it's clearly Saturday. And from now on it's probably always going to be on Saturday, this video, because I've decided trying to put it all together in a Friday after getting home from work and having dinner. Way too much stress and bother. But we shall continue this conversation, you and I, about should I keep calling it TFU Friday or... We will work that out. Look, it's just you and me. Aisie's actually got a really bad cold and can't actually talk.
Yeah, sorry.
So he just insisted on standing around for some reason. But, you know, I'll go right on ahead, starting with a story of absolute criminal genius in Melbourne. This week it was uncovered by a Melbourne newspaper. There was a page on Facebook being used to trade illegal items. Now, some foreign viewers, particularly Americans, may think, well, that stuff shouldn't be illegal. Simple fact, it is. Certain firearms, weapons, tasers, lasers, all these things. And these particular criminal geniuses, when they were using the internet to trade, buy, sell these things, did they go to the dark net, the unlisted bulletin boards, things that were untraceable and secret to all, only talked about in dusty dark rooms? Or did they use the most trafficked website in the world? Yes, they tried to conduct their criminal enterprise through a Facebook page. And the journo who wrote up the story said it only actually took him a couple of hours from finding out about the page to letting the administrator grant him access to the page so he could see all the illegal activity. And they all seemed terribly, upset, surprised, confused when their little game was rumbled. And if you read the article I've linked to below and they go, what are the jacks? That is a really cute bit of Australian, maybe even Melbourne slang for cops. I'm not sure if it goes outside of Melbourne. Sounds like the sort of thing Squizzy Taylor would say. 30s era gangster, the jacks are on to us. So, yeah, really? Criminals? Facebook might be popular? Probably a good reason to not use it for your criminal activity. Another little article that caught my eye this week was from the mental health field. People talking about what they like to call intermittent explosive disorder and how common it is in teenagers, particularly boys. Namely, that sometimes people get really angry. And there's this disturbing trend in mental health circles to pathologise behaviour. It's not just, wow, what a bad-tempered little shit, which is what my mum would have said. So, no, it's a disorder. It's a mental treatment. Having these bursts of rage, it's not justified anger at a horrible world. It's not poor self-control. It's intermittent explosive disorder. It's bull fucking shit is what it is. It's complete bullshit. The idea that someone gets angry and by definition that's some sort of mental disorder is fucking stupid. It cheapens actual mental disorders and it just pathologizes what a lot of the time is normal fucking behavior. It's like talking about, ooh, I have sex addiction. No, you just make bad fucking choices. It's like, internet addiction. No such fucking thing. There is a fucking difference between when someone makes a choice that fucks up their life and someone has a disorder that makes them unable to control their fucking behaviour. There's a difference between being a pathetic fucking idiot and having a mental disorder. This shit is totally fucked up. And speaking of totally fucked up, let's go to the economic ruin that is Europe. And yes, we're just keep looking at things that could be going horribly wrong with different economies. And what does that actually mean? One thing it means is an increase in organ legging. People are so desperate all across Europe and Eastern Europe, they are increasingly trying to sell their bodily organs just to make it through life. People going on websites offering to sell one kidney for $40,000. It's absolutely terrifying that life is grinding down to that point that people are forced to do this. And it did put in mind some stories I've seen before. Organ banks had been uncovered in India in the past, where very poor people were giving up their organs to very rich people, and it was turning out that maybe the poor people didn't actually understand they were going to lose organs that were somewhat important to continue functioning. And that was the one we found. So you think the one where they're actually kidnapping people off the street and chopping them up is probably out there somewhere. Particularly when this article highlighted someone was trying to sell lungs for $250,000. I'm not a medical expert, okay? But I think lungs are somewhat necessary to continued existence. I'm not saying, by the way, I could provide organs from a source if you're on the market. Good as new. Shop soiled. Let's go with shop soiled. Drop me a line. I can do you a deal. But, speaking of poor choices often come from poor education. And I don't really want to pick on America too much, but you're the easiest target when it comes to poor education choices. Let's start with the Creation Museum. And it's important to note that was started by an Australian. Ken Ham from North Queensland wanted to... I am trying to sell those lungs, okay? So if you could stop making them sound quite so run down, that would work. So let's just say the reason Ken Ham didn't start his Creation Museum in Australia, that shit will get you laughed out of town here, even in conservative North Queensland. Okay, so he started it up in the US and they're having money troubles. They'd been promoting for a couple of years they were going to start a big Noah's Ark display and tell the truth of Noah's Ark, and they haven't been able to raise enough money. They say they need another 20 million before they can start, even though they appear to have actually raised around 20 million already. When I first saw that number, I was horrified. It sounded like a scam. But then I thought, this is a bit of economic Darwinism in that if you're stupid enough to give money to these people, then you probably don't deserve to have your money. But of course, they don't believe in Darwinism. These are the people who have a display that has a cute little child frolicking in the Garden of Eden with a velociraptor. Yeah, it's that level of stupid and fucked up. But I do want to round off with possibly the most fucked up education or lack thereof story I've seen for a while. Comes out of Texas, unsurprisingly. I've talked about them before, and their abstinence-only sex education, which is... What are you doing with that, by the way? Nothing. Just as well. Can't trust him at all. Anyway, so Texas pushed abstinence-only sex education, which led to a sharp rise in teen pregnancy. They've got some of the worst high school graduation rates in the US. And the latest pronouncements from this board that want to influence education, all sorts of freaky things. And look, some of this is preference. Some of it I'll give it is preference, saying, kindergarten shouldn't be compulsory. Parents are better teachers, apparently. Wanting to reintroduce corporal punishment into state schools. Not a big fan on it. I was on the receiving end of it back in my day. Didn't make me a better student. Just made me think the teacher giving me the strap was a piece of shit. But, whatever. That's a preference thing, an opinion thing. But the bit that really caught my attention in this was what this board wanted to get away with was classes that taught higher level critical thinking to students. Abstract thinking, because if students were taught to just think for thinking's sake, there is a danger that they might reject beliefs that had already been established in them. They might reject parental authority. Therefore, we should ban anything from school that teaches them to think. Yes, that's where it's got to in Texas. They want to make thinking illegal.